Hi patrons, thank you and welcome back to another video about creative entrepreneurship. Today I want to talk about problems. What's your problem? In the process of creating a business plan, one of the first things that you ask yourself is, what problem am I trying to solve? And in traditional businesses, they do something called a problem statement. So I'll write it down. And remember, you're not going to get mad at me if I make a spelling mistake, because I'm terrible at spelling. Problem statement. So the first thing that you do is you ID the problem, okay? And then the second thing you do in a traditional business idea is you pump up the pain, which is an unfortunate set of words, but that's what they do, pump up the pain. And then you tell a story about that pain. Tell a story about how you experienced this problem, or your family did. And after you have done that, then you present your solution, which is your business plan. So I think that this is a bit of a problem for us creative types because it's pretty negative and we don't necessarily want to think about problems, and maybe our art or our writing, our music is not about a problem. So I think it's worth thinking about different ways to talk about problems. So if we think about problem, another way of thinking about it is something that bugs you, okay? It bugs you. Something's coming up, something, you have an issue. It's annoying. It's annoying. So you're trying to solve it through a creative process. Another thing is sort of an itch. Something that keeps recurring. You keep thinking about it and it's like, oh, it's itching me. It just keeps coming back in your life. Okay, so that's another thing. There's another kind of way of talking about problems, which is curiosity. So maybe there's something that you're just curious about. You love hummingbirds and you just want to know everything about hummingbirds, and you could think about it, the idea of hummingbirds as your problem. I don't think hummingbirds are a problem, but that's another way of thinking about it, just curiosity. Another thing that traditionally business plans talk about is something that's missing, okay, in your life. And this is related to something that maybe you have seen artwork or creative work on an issue that you're interested in, but it's not doing it for you. For example, let's say you love to paint trees or make poetry about trees, and you read a lot of other work about trees or look at artwork about trees, and you think, I can do this better. Okay, so something that, you can do it better, okay? You can do it better, all right? Then what's out there? So these are different ways of thinking about a problem instead of being so negative about it. So I thought I would talk about some of the problems that I've faced in my creative life. And looking back on my life, I do think, whether I acknowledged it or not, I was solving problems as I navigated through, even just really early. So after I got out of college, I was really interested in dance. And I just wanted to keep on dancing. And that was the problem. How can I keep on dancing and earn enough money to survive? So that was a problem for several years that I solved. The next problem was when I realized, okay, I'm gonna stop dancing and go back to art. I realized, you know what? I don't have the painting chops. I don't have the skills. I went to art school. I went to college in the 80s, and that was still the time when professors didn't do a lot of skill teaching. It was the era when they would just stand there, talk, and you do it, and there was no demonstration, and I really felt I didn't have the skills. So I needed to learn the skills, and I had to go back and I teach myself basically. Then as I went into motherhood, and I also started my MFA at the same time, my main problem was, how can I be both an artist and a mother? And that took a long time to explore, because as anybody who has kids know, they don't just come and go. They're there for a while, you know, they're around you, and so you're constantly parenting and you're trying to be an artist at the same time. So that was a problem that I had to solve, and I solved it thematically in my work. As my kids grew up, another problem I had was I have a best friend who's also a painter, and we decided we wanted to paint together, but we also wanted to fund our studio. That was the problem. How can we earn enough money to also pay for our studio? So we made a goal. We actually started a business plan. This is the first time that I really, was like, okay, we need a business plan. We're gonna make these paintings, we're gonna sell them. And that was the problem that I was solving, was how can I do this with another person who I really like? We're still friends, it's great. And then I had an issue in which I wanted to create community with artists, especially women artists. How can I create a community of women artists? Because I realized women are not really as good as men at networking. We're not naturally doing that. And so I wanted to figure out a way to do that. Right now, my problem that I'm trying to solve is, how can I be an artist without selling art? I don't like selling art. It's hard for me, and it's exhausting, and it's not where I want to put my energy. I want to do something else, and so therefore that's why Mojaveland and all sorts of things, and Patreon, to be honest about it. So so I'm thinking about solving these problems. So here's your homework. Think about, if you're feeling like, oh gosh, I'm sort of rudderless in my work. I don't really know what I'm talking about. What's bugging you? What are you curious about? What is missing that you've noticed? So anyway, that's it. Okay, I'll talk about my little desert story now. As you can, I'm sweating a little bit, but it is not as hot as it was a month ago when I made my last video. And so the story for today is it's really interesting with global warming here in the high desert, and if Southern California. It's been hot, and it's August, but it's not August hot, which is really weird. We had August heat in June and July, and right now we had some monsoons, we had some rain, and we had some yesterday. We watched this beautiful storm come in. So one of the beautiful things about being out here in the desert is the weather is so changeable. It's so amazing, and it's so extreme. So even though it's hot now, you get acclimated, you really do. So if you're thinking about going to a hotter extreme, you can manage it, just not if you're living in Seattle and you don't have air conditioning, which is really terrible. Anyway, I'd like to thank my patrons who make these videos possible. My VIPs, Kathy Immordino and Robert Penner, and my special patrons, Cindy Zimmerman, Molly Stump, Kathleen Postma, Linda Keeler, Christine Shoemaker, Josiah Poplar, and Kirsten Ogle. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.